For our time of reflection today, Danielle Liotta brings a reading, Co-Regulation, from Elizabeth Mount.
From our very first breath, we reach out. Co-regulation, not self-regulation, is in our nature. We find our cues from the sun and the moon, from each parent and caregiver. We find our place in this great turning planet by turning to one another, generation to generation. We awaken to the dawn and fall asleep at the evening's end. Our life's journey is part of something greater, something simple, something divine. A flame cannot be lit without a spark. A life cannot begin without the air, and we cannot begin to find ourselves without love. May we reach out to one another. May we offer love and nurturing care. May we join together in celebration of the interdependence of our lives.
Thank you, Danielle. In the presence of our words, spoken and unspoken, let us hold a brief time of silence for the small, still voice, within each of us. May our prayers, our thoughts, our hopes and wishes rise up and be heard in this divine universe. Amen, and blessed be. I've heard it said that everyone has one sermon in them, and possibly only one, as many preachers come back to the same theme again and again. As it turns out, I have become known for returning again and again to community as the central theme of my ministry. In fact, there was a group of congregants in a church I was serving years ago who sat in a row toward the front and started keeping count, apparently, of how many times I used the word community. I noticed them whispering and giggling among themselves as they thought they were keeping it a secret from me, but I found out. So if you're inclined to keep count, I'm fine with people tracking my words, especially the ones that reflect the core values of my ministry. And if you're counting, let me know. I'd be curious to know the results. I opened our service today with words from Margret A that mean a lot to me. There is no power greater than a community discovering what it cares about. Real listening always brings people closer together. Trust that meaningful conversations can change your world. Rely on human goodness. Stay together. Discover what you care about. Listen and trust. Stay together. The heart of the word community, of course, is unity. A community is formed by people who choose to be together, united in meaning and purpose, creating a network of wholeness and support that helps each member feel grounded and secure, finding the support we need to make our way through these complex, dangerous, and divisive times. The unifying power of a community is the foundation on which it rests, the values and commitments that are shared, supported, and magnified by being together. As I said in my newsletter article earlier this month, our beliefs, our values really do matter. Our core values guide the decisions we make and the actions we choose in all our relationships, in our families, our congregations, our communities, our world. Our actions can help us transform the world when those actions are informed and driven by our deeply held beliefs and values, day to day as we live our lives in the world. The strength of a congregation rests on that foundation of shared values in community, a theme that arises again and again in my work as a Unitarian Universalist minister. Whether or not we are explicitly aware of the values that give rise to our decisions and actions, they are felt, made visible and tangible in all that we do. The nature and quality of our relationships are shaped by the values we hold, and community forms around the values we share with the others in those relationship circles. United, we support, assist, and hold ourselves accountable in our decisions and actions, co-creating beloved community with the power of love at the center, bringing a spirit of transformation to the world. It is integral to our human nature to live in community, as you heard in the words that Danielle read. Co-regulation is our nature. We find our place in this great turning planet by turning to one another, celebrating the interdependence of our lives. Our belonging, especially the networks we create and the places we choose to join, draws us into connection with those who are most like us, who support our authentic identity, those with whom we share common values and commitments to support our lives in the challenging world. This congregation is one of those places we can learn the practice of intentional interdependence as we are connected, united in shared values and commitments. And we begin teaching interdependence at an early age so that our children may grow up secure in the knowledge of their place in this great turning planet. Earlier this fall, the children in our religious exploration program spent 2 of their Sunday class periods working on their class agreement about how they wanted to be with each other, living into our UU values and their own personal values and beliefs about how to create their religious exploration community. So if you look later, not now, if you look on the other side of this wall behind me, just over the low bookshelf in the religious exploration space, you will see blue ribbons that display the ideas they shared to create their agreement. I so much love what they shared that I'm sharing those words with you now. This is their list of agreements expressing their values for connection and relationship. We are all unique. Be yourself. We don't judge people by their covers. Everyone should be heard and respected. We are kind to each other. Be kind to each other. We listen to each other. We listen to other opinions with curiosity. It's okay to have different ideas about things. If you don't understand someone, don't get angry or frustrated. Someone is mean, we are not mean back. Be friendly. Overall, be friendly to everyone. We help our friends when they need help. Learning helps us grow. Be honest. Be brave. It's an ongoing process, so they may add to the list over time. Be yourself, be honest, be kind, be brave. In terms of relationship values, I don't think it gets better than that. As you may be aware, the Healthy Relations team, HEART, held some listening circles over the past 6 weeks or so with the intention of doing something quite similar to what the children did in their RE class, identifying the shared values from which the congregation could create an agreement for how they wish to be in relationship with each other. We took notes on the ideas people shared about values and counted how many times each value was mentioned as an indicator of how much it mattered to the people who were sharing in the circles. There were about 30 people who did this over 5 different opportunities. As I tell you the values that were most frequently mentioned by those who participated, I think you'll notice how similar the adults' responses were to those of our children. The values mentioned most often in the listening circles were kindness, community, compassion and caring, acceptance and non-judgment, and respect. Other values that were mentioned but not as often included support, justice, and love. My takeaway from the values that rose to the top in the listening circles is that this is a congregation where kindness and compassion, acceptance and respect are central to the relationships that members create here together. And perhaps those values are what people are looking for when they come through these doors, as well as being an important factor in why they stay, join in, find a sense of belonging here, perhaps become a member. The belonging in this congregation, our presence in this beloved community is real and powerful, and this belonging makes a tangible difference in our lives. As researcher Peter Block has written, quote, "Community offers the promise of belonging and calls for us to acknowledge our interdependence. To belong is to act as an investor, owner, and creator of this place. To be welcome, even if we are strangers, as if we came to the right place and are affirmed for that choice," end quote. When we are in the right place, we are affirmed for that choice. Real belonging must be authentic to who we are. Many of the folks who come through the doors of our Unitarian Universalist congregations have been raised in faith traditions or perhaps in families or communities where they did not feel they belonged, or perhaps they become convinced that religion itself can never be a place of belonging for them. And then sometimes they find their way to a congregation like this one, seeking authentic belonging, a place where they can be who they truly are in a community of faith commitment. This is where our values, shaping the deepest nature of this community, show up and shine. The listening circles were created and led by the Healthy Relations team, HEART. Danielle Liotta, our congregation's candidate for commissioned lay ministry and the team lead for HEART, will share some observations about the process and the plan going forward. Danielle.
As well as interesting patterns, there have been some surprises in this listening circle process as well. Thank you. The Healthy Relations team had been planning this process for several months, and we got board approval to invite broad participation in updating the congregational covenant to build a widely accepted agreement for how the relationships here would be best supported. However, once the circles were announced, we noticed that participation was much lower than we had hoped. And we did some listening to the comments people were making about why they were not joining in. We discovered there was some reluctance about this project in the congregation. Perhaps there had been some negative experiences with the way covenant had been used here. Some suspicion about what it might mean to create a formal agreement about how to live together in community. And perhaps reluctance to name the shared values and commitments with which everyone might agree. Based on the strong emotions we heard in those background conversations, the HEART team decided that perhaps now was not the right time to work on a covenant. And so that project has been suspended for the time being. However, in a conversation after the listening circles, the team discovered there was more to the story and that there was a deep longing for connection and also a great pleasure in the sharing in the listening circles. Some of the comments were, "I'm glad I came," These are questions that have never really been addressed. Our own values, congregation, shared values and relationships, making our feelings about the congregation explicit and known. This gives people a chance to think about what they cherish, what is profoundly important. The question, what is it that you cherish, speaks to the heart. This is about what draws us to this congregation and keeps us here, clarifying our values. Those are values we share. This is what keeps us together as a congregation. Based on all this feedback, Heart recognizes the deep need to be in loving conversation about this congregational community. So we've developed a new program of listening circles, which we will try out with our Board of Trustees at their next available opportunity. These new circles will ask 3 questions for sharing and listening. The first, what do you celebrate about UU Catskills? What does this congregation do really well? The second, what are you worried about or would like to see change? What would you want to be more, better, or different about the congregation? And third, what are your hopes for the future? Perhaps for the next 1 to 5 years. We plan to hold these circles primarily on Zoom so we can have flexibility in scheduling, and we very much hope that many people will decide to participate in these joyful conversations. Dates will be announced soon with a sign-up process, and if people do need or want an in-person experience, we can certainly set that up as well.
Thank you, Danielle. Co-regulation in community, sharing our joys, our wishes, our hopes and dreams is vital to our lives in this world. There is indeed no power greater than a community discovering what it cares about, strengthening relationships based on shared values, creating a shared vision of the transformation that might yet come into our lives, the transformation of this troubled world toward more justice, wholeness, and peace. Joined in a community of value and commitment, we unite to pledge ourselves to the cause of greater understanding of who we are and what in us is most true, joined in the search for meaning, creating together the power to transform the world.